Hi, this is Kelsey Barnett, and I'm going to talk about a project I worked on for my digital heritage class. So this project was designed to examine so Hi, this is Kelsey Barnett, and I'm going to talk about a project I worked on for my digital heritage class. So this project was designed to examine just how augmented reality could be used by museum and heritage educators to engage students and bring more STEM opportunities to museum programming while still keeping costs down. Because as we know, heritage organizations rarely have a large amount of funding to spread around. So why augmented reality? Well, augmented reality is a field that is very rapidly becoming normalized. Look at Pokemon Go. That's an application that uses augmented reality to kind of superimpose the life forms from the card game Pokemon on top of what your phone's camera is seeing in the real world. And tens of millions of people have downloaded that application and play it on the regular. Also, look at Meta, or who was once Facebook, their proposed metaverse. Now, what they have is kind of going to be a mix of augmented reality and virtual reality, but the fact is, augmented reality is quickly becoming mainstream, and it's a tool that heritage educators need to know how to use. If they don't learn how to use it, they're going to quickly fall behind and not know the relevant needs of the public when it comes to their education. And so by showing that the museum or the heritage site can combine STEM education with, say, social, history, art education, it's going to create a larger draw for student participation. So in terms of creating an actual educational program or workshop, I kind of came at this with more of an emphasis on the practicality of using the technology as opposed to fully writing up a program proposal. So keep that in mind as we go along. For the workshop project, it made sense to me to use augmented reality as it is easy to learn. There are many free software applications that you can use when it comes to creator software. For the purposes of this project, I decided to use Adobe Aero, which, keep in mind, is still in beta, but it was a software that I had not used before. So I felt like that it was a better reflection of the experience that a new AR user might have. So I also decided that the theme of the project itself would be probably provided to the students taking part in the project. The students would visit the museum or the site. They would gather information from the exhibits, and then they would use that to create their own AR exhibit. And so hopefully this would limit the time taken to come up with thematic ideas, and it would help the students to focus on what they learned from the exhibits and to focus on their experience of creating the AR model. So in addition to the free creator software, I needed to find a free way to generate 3D models to import into the application. So I ended up using Sketchfab, which is a website where users can upload models that they have created. And there are models on there that you have to pay for, but you can easily circumvent that. There are tons of models available on Sketchfab. You don't have to pay for anything. So I completed this project on an HP laptop, but these softwares are available to use on a lot of different devices. I would imagine for the actual programming, if it actually came to fruition, there would be tablets that could be provided for the students, or if it was being done at a school, could have a computer lab that they could use. This is also something that could very easily be done on a smartphone. So depending on the age of the student in question, they might have access to that and they could create the whole program right there in the palm of their hand. So let's pretend I just walked around a history museum that had an exhibit on, say, the evolution of video games. I would be inspired to create an augmented reality exhibit on the PlayStation gaming console. So here is how I would go about making the model. So the first thing that I would do would be to open Adobe Aero. Hard to make the model without the software. I would then create a new project. And the nice thing I found about Adobe Aero is that it autosaves to the cloud. So whenever you're working on it, you will notice a little notification here whenever it is saving. So you don't have to worry about, oh no, what if your computer crashes right in the middle of it? It's saved. It's okay. Then I named the project and I was very creative. I called it Video Game Exhibit. So after looking over the assets, which are all listed here on the side, the left-hand side, I didn't really find exactly what I was looking for what I had in mind for the exhibit, so I decided to go over to Sketchfab to get what I needed. And here we have Sketchfab. I searched for free to download models. You can just go up to the little search bar, get your search on. As you can see, there is a very large selection to choose from. I mean, this scroll bar just keeps going down. So you just find what you want. And here you can see one of the gallery walls that I downloaded. They have, as I said, a huge selection. You can find plain gallery walls if you want to use a brick wall. They have brick walls. If you want to use a table, they have tables. The sky's the limit, really. So going to download the model, you can see that the nice thing about Sketchfab is that they give you Creative Commons information and they give you information on how to give credit to the creator, which as a nonprofit is really, really nice. And I have found that for Aero, FBX is the file type that works best. So just keep that in mind also as you're looking for different models to use. And speaking of Aero, here we are going back to Aero. You're going to open up the import section, which there is right here, this little guy. You can click on that to import your own models. And here you can see the imported gallery wall. And so there are multiple ways that you can play around and adjust the models. Here on the far left-hand side, there are your kind of directional keys. So these up top are going to be for the object only. And then these down at the bottom are going to control the entire model as a whole. So after finagling around, I imported quite a few models to make up the scene. You can see here on the right-hand side that it lists out each individual model that you've imported. And then voila, there is the base exhibit for the PlayStation that I created. It's pretty rough, but I imagine that the students who are going to come in and create models, it's going to be a little rough for them too. So I noticed working through it that there was not a text box option, which again, Arrow's in beta, but it was still a little annoying. So I went in, and in the assets section, they have lettering, but it is so just painful to try to go and put each letter in and size it and make sure it's in the right axis point, and it's just, that would be annoying. So hopefully whenever it gets out of beta, they will have actual text boxes that you can put in there. So now the model is as complete as it's going to be. Export it. So up here, this little guy on the top right, you can click on that and go to export. And I tried to export it first as a USDZ, but it did not like that. It told me that there was no file. So I went back in and did it as a .real, and it liked that, and it saved just fine. What you can also do in the export section is create a link, and what that does is it creates a QR code for the model, which is nice. It makes it very easy to share. So what I did notice though, it would have been nice in this whole process to be able to use my laptop's camera to view the model as it is intended to be seen, but I never had the option to access my laptop's camera. I don't know if it was a hardware thing, if it just wasn't supported by Arrow, or if Arrow being in beta just didn't have that capability yet, but I was easily able to download Arrow as an app on my phone and use that to view the QR code, which does add another step to the process, but it's not a hard step. It's pretty easy to step over. So yeah. Overall, from start to finish, it took about an hour to complete that little rough exhibit. But keep in mind that was with prior experience with AR in general and with Sketchfab. So it would definitely take a complete novice longer to do it, especially when factoring in if the program ended up being the way I envisioned, and that they would go through and view the exhibits to get inspiration first. It would take a good deal of time. But this project was cheap. The only cost would be staffing, utilities, and then advertisements to get teachers interested in bringing their students to the programming. The software was free. We hopefully have access to tablets as an educational facility. So yeah, cost was pretty low. But no but. So the project is pretty customizable and easy to set up, so it would become quickly an educational staple. You could tailor it to any given lesson plan that a teacher came in with. And though, given the amount of time and training for a novice user, it may be better suited for like a STEM summer camp. That way the students would be able to better internalize what they see in the exhibits and then kind of plan out the virtual exhibit that they would be creating. And in doing that, we would be able to add in other elements of digital heritage like photogrammetry. Maybe they could make their own model, and that would be really neat for them as well, kind of create a more holistic experience. So at the end of the line, what needs to be kept in mind is the fact that augmented reality is changing every day, and museum and heritage educators need to keep up with new technology or they're going to fall behind. So they're not going to be able to provide the best education that they can for the public. And that's kind of one of the core missions of any museum, is to educate. So we would be doing a disservice to the public if we didn't utilize these technologies in every facet that we could. Thank you for listening. Have a nice day.